Alright, welcome back to the Inky Raven. In this video we're going to go ahead and move on to shading spheres with watercolor. So this kind of goes along with the cubes and cylinders, so going to continue to build upon that and work with like balls. So spheres, of course, essentially you're going to have just your basic circle. So at first all these are going to look very much the same, but so with these light source and how you place your drop shadows are really going to make a difference. So I'll kind of just go ahead and quickly sketch out some circles, trying to make them round, or at least as round as again, this is practice, so it's not terribly important, but it is also good practice to draw some circles. So again, just roughly loosely drawing these, so if I notice that like part of it doesn't actually look round, I'm just going to kind of go back into it. I'm not worried about it being super precise, so if there's a flat spot it doesn't really matter. You can go in and erase them if you're wanting to create a more finished artwork, but for this, by all means, not necessary. So again, I'll go ahead and write at the top. So our light source will create, we want to highlight, a shadow, and a drop or cast shadow. Alright, so for our light sources for these, this big one here, I'm going to kind of light from here. And so I'll go ahead and draw the cast shadows with them this time. So if my light source is here, and for these actually I'm going to go ahead and like roughly mark where I want my highlight to be, because that is going to be more important for these. Kind of similar to where it was with some of the cylinders. But so you kind of want to make sure you have that kind of like white spot available. So if this is coming from above on the left, and I'm going to say this might be my highlight, so continue on down, so my shadow would be just simply behind it. So for this one down here, we'll kind of do the opposite. So my highlight would be here, and this one I'm actually going to do something a bit more unique. Well, not unique per se, but something a little different that we didn't do with all the others. So I'm going to actually make this one more into a ball. So I'm essentially going to drag out my shadow and have it not touching the object, so it kind of looks like it's bouncing. And that illusion will really be enforced and add the shading. So this third one here, we can light directly from above. So light source, and shadow, so kind of above and behind. Let's see, we'll do two from underneath. So this one, kind of lighting from the front to back, so our shadow would be back here, and our highlight would just be there. And so this last one will light directly from the front. So depending on the back, the shadow would be like roughly that area. All right. So I do need to get some more water, so I will be right back. All right, so when working with watercolor, it is usually a good idea to make sure you've got at least one thing of clean water. You often can have, if you have the containers available, you can work with 2 or 3 and make sure you kind of keep one clean. But it's also a good idea to change your water very often. That way your colors don't start getting muddier. Alright, so for these, the spheres, I think I'm going to work with blue. So I want to kind of do what I did last time and kind of pull out a good bit of water and then add kind of my blue to it so that I can make sure that I've got a good bit of water with just a little bit of pigment, because that did make this a lot easier. Alright, so since I don't know exactly how dark that's going to be, when I start, I'm going to start at the opposite edge and then kind of work my way in. So spheres rather are fairly interesting because you're going to work in a circular motion. And this can really help kind of if you're not really used to drawing spheres or drawing circles. This can really help kind of just go in and retrace your lines, and it can really help improve your ability to make circles. So this one I'm going to do with the black shadow. So this middle one will start here, and again, so I'm just working in a circular motion and kind of making sure to leave that highlight white. So you can go directly up to it, or you can leave a little bit of space and fan it out. And so all of these will just go back in and just keep glazing the colors till they get darker. Again, working from light to dark. And last one here. I'm gonna spread that one out a little bit more because it looks a little choppy. Alright, so going back in, grabbing a bit more blue to make it darker. Again, starting at that far edge and kind of working my way in. So this, you do, like your second layer, you do kind of want to add your second layer kind of towards where your highlight is, like on the opposite side of it. I'm going to go back in with clean water and kind of blend that out. Because that going in and making like that dark area right next to where your highlight is will really make it look rounded. So again, a lot of this is just kind of starting light and kind of glazing or layering your colors till you get them as dark as you really want. Alright, so to go back in, making sure that I've washed my brush a good bit, and I can go back in and start to kind of blend that line out so that it's not as harsh. And so it is also a good idea to kind of, if you notice that it's starting to get a little too dark and you're getting like fine edges, just go in and kind of add some more water to your brush, and you can fan that out. Now it is important to not like scratch or scrub your paper too hard, especially if you're using, depending on the quality of your watercolor paper, because the less quality of your paper, the easier that it's going to start to like pill and come apart basically. So this one is starting to a little bit, you can see like those little dark spots. That's actually the color, the paper starting to come apart. So this one is not, and you can see it there really good. So this particular watercolor paper isn't the best. But so you do want to just kind of blend it a little bit, make sure you don't have the harsh edges. And kind of do so in a circular motion as well, so that like it keeps the curve of the sphere. Alright, so now we can go back in and grab a little bit more blue to add a darker edge to it. So this one in particular, I might not go all the way around, especially on the small ones. Because I am going to want to blend that out. So again, using clean water, kind of pulling that in. So that one had a little bit of black, so just, or a little bit of too dark, so just went in and pulled more water in to kind of pick that color back up. So again here, just kind of refading out that new line. And same here, so go in kind of make sure to get rid of that harsh line. And the last one here. So depending on how your sphere is setting, you can also pay attention to reflected light. So that's going to be like the light of the color of the table bouncing back up into the ball or sphere. And so you can do that a couple of different ways. So for instance, if this is like an orange table, you could go in and add like an orange kind of highlight area to the bottom of your ball and kind of blend that out so it's kind of a highlight, kind of a shadow, since it is that complementary color. Or you can also go through and just take a clean brush and kind of when it's surrounded by the black or the dark of your shadow, you can pull out a nice highlight there too. So I am going to add a bit more of a darker blue to some of these while we also work on these shadows. So this one specifically, I'm not going to quite cover up that orange highlight. And of course you could, as in this one, leave that highlight kind of white or like that lighter blue. And so we'll do the blue shadow here as well. I'm going to fade this dark up just a little bit, and same here, before it dries too much. So a lot of watercolor, again, also has to just do with laying down the color and kind of manipulating it a bit till you get comfortable with what you're doing. And kind of seeing what it can do and what techniques you really like. So harsh dark. With those two front ones. So and then just going in and again blending it back up. And so working with in per se layers like this one, you want to make sure you, before you move in a rung, just kind of go in and re-clean or re-wet your brush so that you're pulling a bit more water in. Just kind of clean that up right there. Alright, so to finish this up, so we've got the just blue shadow there if you're working with like a single color or monochromatic color scheme. You can actually take some water and blend the edge of that out as well, so that we've got it a little bit lighter. And you can also use a clean brush and pick up some of that back at the edge. Alright, so the other blue shadow over here, I'm going to go in and just kind of fade out the blue. And some super dark right there, right up against the ball. And then kind of blend that in. Alright, so we've been doing a brown shadow, so I'll do that one here. Coming from behind and kind of feather that out, and then just get some more water and fan it out a bit more. So that one actually kind of looks like it's rolling across the floor. And so for this one here that is bouncing, we'll do an actual like black on the inside, and then we'll blend this one out. So that the center is super dark and then it kind of fades out. All the way around, since it is bouncing. Alright, so this last one here, I'm going to do the blue with its complement, since we have kind of done that with the orange-ish highlight in the ball. So I will go ahead lay down some blue and kind of fan it out with some water and do that again. And then go back in with some of the orange. And so you can go back in and add some more blue if you would like, or some more orange, or a bit of both. But so again, it's all kind of about experimenting and just kind of practicing to see what you like, what you don't like, what you think works well. Because for most things, there's not a per se right way or a wrong way to do things. Alright, so I think I will leave that at that. So you guys stay safe, have fun, be creative, do things.